Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more of an edgier game, talking about the game Hatred. This game was a pretty controversial game when it was in development, and I like to think that most of the controversy surrounding it has kind of died down. But there's probably definitely a few people who still are not very fond of the old serial killer simulator. But that's kind of what the game is. The game is a top-down twin-stick shooter kind of a game, and very bleak, very dark, and very morbid. Definitely a very morbid game. The game was originally blocked from being released on Steam due to the violent content of the game, but ultimately it ended up going ahead and getting the green light, which upset some people. Other people were happy for it. I mean, I bought it. Twin stick shooters are cool, but basically the premise of the game is like you're a dude, you're wearing a trench coat, you got long hair, and you just fucking hate everybody. So you're gonna just kill them. Obviously, this is, a touchy subject in general, but in the sense of a video game, I don't think that, there's anything inherently wrong with making a game like this, despite the fact that the subject matter is absolutely a controversial thing, because the whole first level, you're just going around killing people and shooting cops and stuff. So it's definitely on the edgy side of the gaming world. It's a very edgy game. But let's talk about the actual gameplay itself. The twin stick shooter aspect. There's a variety of different weapons. I'm not super good at this game, but there is a decent enough variety of weapons. You start with an assault rifle, and as cops show up, you can take their weapons. Their shotgun and handgun will become available that way. You can have 3 guns at a time. In the second level, you'll find a submachine gun too. So different weapons will become available as you progress. And as far as the controls themselves, the controls it controls like a twin stick shooter. It's a surprisingly responsive twin stick shooter. The overall raw control scheme, the gameplay, you pull the trigger to shoot. It's not just shooting all the time. And the destructibility of the environment is also kind of a nice touch. You can throw a grenade at a wall and blow a hole in the wall, or better yet, you can commandeer vehicles that are currently running and drive them around. The driving is a little rough, definitely a little rough, because your steering is left and right on the right stick, and your acceleration and reverse is up and down on the left stick if you're playing with a controller, which is how I would recommend playing a twin stick shooter like this. I imagine it's fine with last, but that's up to the individual to choose. I don't use the mouse and keyboard for every game, and this is definitely one genre of games that I prefer the controller for. I'm not going to talk too much about the moral connotations. Obviously, the idea of doing something like this is wrong, but the expression of it in a video game is an interesting route to take, I think, because I don't know, it's edgy for the sake of being edgy. You can tell just in the dialogue, just in the character's design, that it was put together how it was, specifically to kind of tickle people a little bit, and kind of get people a little roused and get them out of their chairs and yelling about something, I guess. So I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that whole aspect of the game itself, but gameplay wise, it's totally fine. Now I'm not gonna give this game the strongest recommendation though, because just on the simple premise that not everybody is going to be able to digest the morally compromising content that is on display here in this particular game. And so, with that, I would say definitely consider this game if you're into that kind of stuff. But if you're not into this kind of stuff, then I would give it a strong avoid. The raw gameplay mechanics and everything, I don't think are strong enough to make it something that I think everybody should play, in spite of the content itself. And if you can't separate the art from the artist, it's probably just not a good thing in your eyes, and you know that's entirely your decision to have. But yeah, I know this has absolutely been a shorter video. I honestly don't have a whole lot to say about this game. Like, before I started this, I obviously was like, yeah, there's a bit to talk about there, but you know, going through it, I think I would rather avoid getting too deep into the whole moral compass and the whole political conversations that can come out of this, because that's not my place. I'm not smart enough to talk about that kind of stuff. I'll leave that to the people who are smarter than I am in that realm. I will just kind of comment on the gameplay aspects, and as far as like playing like a video game, it does a good enough job. You know, the graphics are pretty solid, they're pretty good. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing with this game is entirely up to you. But the graphics don't look bad. The gameplay feels solid. It's not the tightest twin stick shooter I've ever played, but it's not loose either. It has driving mechanics. They're weird, not the greatest, but they are there. And yeah, I think that's really all I'm gonna fucking say about this one. I think now that I'm in it, I'm gonna go ahead and commit and go full send on, you know, putting this out there. But I'm also gonna go ahead and just like leave the opinion pieces to the people who are educated enough to have real information to back themselves. The people who do the research on these kinds of things, the social connotations and all that behind the subject matter of this particular game. So yeah, that said, I'm gonna leave this one here. Like, subscribe if you enjoyed this, and yeah, I think that'll do her. I think that Friday's video we're gonna do something a bit more lighthearted than this one. I think we're gonna do something a little more fun. I think that two really dark and somber games in a row. I think I don't want to go down that road too far all at once. Gotta spread it out a little bit. Anyhow, I will fucking see you later.